Hello and welcome to today's live webinar on ChatGPT, which is a state of the art AI language model based on the GPT architecture. My name is Ishant and I'm excited to be your host for this event, which is hosted by Virtue e-Varsity. I have a vast experience in the domain of software development and the data science. In our today's discussion, we'll be talking about how we have ChatGPT with various capabilities, its potential applications in the various fields, including the natural language processing, content creation, and the chatbot development. So, guys, let us begin. And in our today's discussion, we're gonna talk about ChatGPT. So, first of all, what exactly is ChatGPT? Now, ChatGPT is an AI chatbot which is developed by the OpenAI and released in the November 2022. ChatGPT is a language model that has been trained on vast amount of textual data. It is pretty much capable of generating human-like responses to natural language prompts. It uses a transformer based architecture that allows it to consider the context of the input text which you provide and hence generate the outputs that are pretty much coherent and contextually relevant. It is pretty much known for its ability to generate human like responses to any user queries. That is because of the way it has been trained. It is an excellent example of the natural language processing. So, whether you are a developer, a data scientist, or just someone who is interested in learning more about the capabilities of AI models, this webinar is for you. So, sit back, relax, and let us dive into the fascinating world of ChatGPT. Okay, we have a lot of things to discuss, but before we discuss, let me come up and explain what exactly is ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a large language model created by the OpenAI and it is based on GPT. So, what exactly GPT means? GPT means Generative Pre-trained Transformer Architecture. Now, ChatGPT is an AI model which is designed to generate human-like responses to the natural language prompts, which makes it capable of carrying on a conversation with the users. ChatGPT works by utilizing a deep neural network that has been pre-trained on vast amounts of textual data. So let me now take you guys to one of the neural network and how it looks like. So just give me a moment where I'm just gonna come here and switch my screen. All right. Okay. Now this is how a neural network looks like. As you can see in the neural network, these small circles, they are nothing but they are referred to as neurons. Now these neurons, they are capable of processing the input. They validate the input based on a certain threshold and generate an output, which is a binary one. So for any neural network, there has to be an input layer which reads the data And thereafter, we can have multiple hidden layers which will do processing on the data, and finally an output layer is going to produce a result. Now, ChatGPT works by utilizing such a deep neural network. And this kind of a network has been pre-trained on vast amounts of textual data. During the training, the model learned to recognize patterns in language, understand the context of words and sentences. So the input pretty much was the words and the sentences. And that is how, as a user, when you input a prompt to the chat GPT, it uses the knowledge to generate a response based on the patterns it has learned. So model generates a probability distribution over all the possible next words, and it selects the most likely one which will be continued to a sentence. Now this process is repeated until a complete response is generated. Now let me come back to our discussion. Alright, so in the discussion, we got our very first topic, that's like the real world applications of natural language processing. But first of all, what is natural language processing or NLP? It's a field of artificial intelligence and computer science which focuses on enabling the computers to understand, interpret, and generate some human language. Now, when it comes to the NLP, it involves the usage of some computational techniques. In the data science worlds, there are some statistic model and machine learning algorithms which can process and analyze the large volumes of natural language data, which includes the text and the speech. Now we'll discuss some of the real world applications of the natural language processing. NLP has a wide range of real world application. To begin with, we got the chatbots and the virtual assistants. Now, if you would have seen the Google business reviews, there comes some sentimental analysis where NLP can be used to analyze some large volumes of textual data. It can be social media posts, customer reviews to determine the sentiment and identity trends. For example, let me come here and go ahead with something known as Pavilion Mall. So there is a mall and you can see that there are certain reviews available on the mall. Its rating is coming out pretty much 4.4 and people have given the various reviews on the place. And you can see the sentiment analysis coming up where people are talking about the brands, movie, the food court, the PVR, so on and so forth. Alright, so this is one of the applications when it comes to the natural language processing. Another one is the language translation. NLP can be used in the machine translation systems which enables computer to translate the text from one language to another. The example is we have already been using the Google Translate. Then comes the speech recognition. When we use the commands like Alexa and Siri or maybe Google Home to invoke our prompts and then get some resolutions done, this is a perfect example of speech recognition. NLP can also be used to generate the human-like language output, which enables computers to automatically create content such as the news articles, social media posts, the product descriptions. So we are talking about the field of natural language processing known as the content generation. And yes, ChatGPT is a specific implementation of the natural language processing technology. NLP is a field of AI that focuses on enabling computers to understand, interpret, and generate human language. Now, I'm going to take you guys down to the ChatGPT architecture. It's gonna be pretty much technical, but let's have a quick overview of how this technical model looks like. Now, as you can see on your screen, we got a very cumbersome architecture here. So the ChatGPT model architecture, it consists of multiple layers of transformer blocks where each consisting of several sub layers. we got the input embedding layer. Now this layer is responsible to convert the input text into some continuous vectors that can be processed by the model. Thereafter, in continuation, we do have the transformer encoding layers. Thereafter, we have something known as the output embedding layer. Now this layer will convert the output of the transformer encoder layers into set of some continuous vectors that can be used to generate the final output. And thereafter, we do have a final output layer where a probability distribution works. That's like the softmax function, which can be used to produce the final output text by mapping the output embeddings to the vocabulary space and then selecting the most likely words based on their probability distribution. So this transformer model was annotated in a research paper and it is by Lena. Attention is all you need. You can read more about this paper and get to know a bit more technically how this architecture works. But since we are going to work with the ChatGPT and that is pretty much the basics, so let me now come back and switch to the basics. Okay, so the next thing is, what are the challenges which can be addressed, and we'll be also working on how the ChatGPT can be used in the industry. So let us now move ahead and quickly log into the ChatGPT account. So just give me a moment. So I'm gonna come here and say ChatGPT. All right. So you can see we got the very first link coming as the openai.com. Now, when you click on this introducing ChatGPT here, you will be landed to the OpenAI website where it says that you can try the ChatGPT. Let me click on try ChatGPT. So it's gonna take me to the ChatGPT console. But of course, yes, you need to log in to the ChatGPT. You can use your Google account in order to do so. Now there are two different windows to work with the ChatGPT. The first one, which I have explained, is how you can go from openai.com to try the ChatGPT. You just need to do a registration with the Google account, or maybe simply sign in with the Google, and then you can come up and use this ChatGPT. The next one is where we can go ahead and we can say the ChatGPT playground. So ChatGPT playground is something which is a bit different console, but let me open this for all of you. So here we can see the platform.openai.com/account. As of now, I am in the API keys, but I can click on this playground. Now, when you navigate to the ChatGPT within the playground, you would find that here you have some more different options coming in the right hand side. For example, what is the mode, what is the model which you want to use, thereafter the temperature settings which will control the randomness, what can be the maximum length, so on and so forth. You have various configurations to work with. Now it is your own, you can say, kind of a choice that whether you would like to use a quick ChatGPT interface or you would like to work with the playground. Give me a moment, guys. All right. So moving ahead, once you have successfully logged into the ChatGPT, either you have the ChatGPT console, which is a regular chat console, or the playground console, you are ready to use the ChatGPT. So moving ahead with my discussion, how we can work with the ChatGPT and address various challenges in the industry. All right. So as you can see, it says write a tagline for an ice cream shop, which pretty much means that you can go ahead and get some taglines for your business. So maybe I'm gonna say write a tagline for my t-shirt business. Now the moment we say submit here, so you would get to see that we have got a resolution from the ChatGPT. Let us try the same within the ChatGPT console on the chat.openai.com. So pasting my prompt and I'll be getting a response. As you can see, either you are in the playground or you are in the chat console, you get a similar response. What happens when the user is going to come up and maybe ask the same question again and again? So maybe we can ask the same question again and again. You would see ChatGPT by default is giving you some different kind of statements, but yes, of course, they do have a degree where they match in the responses. Now that is where the temperature setting comes into picture. So 0 means there is a probability that you are going to get the similar responses, where 1 means you will be getting the different responses each time. So that's how playground, you have some configurations which you can choose and work. You can choose some different AI models from the previous history, but in the ChatGPT console, it's a quick way how you can work with the ChatGPT. You need not to configure anything, and automatically all of your conversations, they get saved within your account. All right. So now take a moment and try creating one of the account and just quickly get started with the ChatGPT and simply put across some comments so that if you are facing any challenges in signing up with the ChatGPT, we can help you. I just hope that you would have created your accounts and you would have used the ChatGPT console. You may have tested some of the question. And now let us proceed further and see the usage of ChatGPT industry. So as an AI language model, ChatGPT can be used in various ways in the industry. The first way is the chat bots and the virtual assistant. So you can use the ChatGPT and build the chatbots and the virtual assistants that can interact with the customers, answer their queries, and even perform the tasks on their behalf. Now, these chatbots can be used in customer service, sales, marketing, and other areas. But how you'll be doing it? In order to come up and create a chatbot, it's gonna be an extensive activity, of course. you need to use some programmatical techniques, and thereafter you would be able to do so. You would need Python, and what you can do is you can go to the Chat GPT playground, and thereafter you have something known as the API reference. As you can see, you can very quickly install the OpenAI for the Python binding. You have even the library for the Node.js. So all in all, you have a step-by-step approach how you can come up and work with the ChatGPT APIs so that you can come up and create the chatbots and maybe the virtual assistants using the Python or the Node.js. So that's like we got a quick overview of the API reference. Of course, yes, you need to also work on your API keys so that you can use them in your codes. So you have it under the API keys. All right. So now moving ahead. So for our discussion, we'll be using the ChatGPT console, which is a basic chat.openai.com. Now we'll be discussing the second important usage of ChatGPT in the industry, which is content generation. Now this is where industry is using ChatGPT like anything. ChatGPT can be used to generate content which includes articles, reports, summaries, and this can be useful for the companies that need to produce some large amount of content quickly, such as the news organizations or the content marketing agencies. Let me try to showcase how we can work with the content generation using the ChatGPT, which is the primary asset of ChatGPT. I'm going to submit a prompt here. Let me say, write a list of potential blog titles for the below topic. Now, in order to come up and navigate to the next line, you need to say shift enter so that you reach to the second space. Now, I'm going to come here and say Apple AirPods Pro. So this is my topic for which I am expecting some potential blog titles. Let us hit enter and you would find the ChatGPT is supposed to respond with few of the titles which can be used as the blog titles for the search engine optimization and much more. So here are the list of blog titles as you can see for the Apple AirPods Pro. So you can of course change the key product or the service and get a list of potential blog titles. But this is not just what we are expecting from the ChatGPT. You can get the entire content for the blog and that too in the HTML or the web page format. Let me show you how. So I'm going to come here and say, as a content writer, generate blog content for below topic, and thereafter I'm just gonna come here and give the topic which is unboxing and review of Apple AirPods Pro. Let us hit enter, and what you would observe is ChatGPT is processing our prompt, and let us just wait for ChatGPT to come up and write one of the blog content for the topic which we have submitted. All right, so you can see how ChatGPT is kind of generating the content. So remember, this is not where ChatGPT has just, searched some web pages and did a copy and a paste of the content and it is giving it to you. As you can see, it is processing the input and then generating the content. The way you can see the output is being produced. So that is how it is the GPT. So it is generating the text. All right. So this can take a bit of time since the plan here is by default the freemium plan. It is not upgraded plan. But of course, if you want to explore the ChatGPT on some organizational level, you can upgrade your free plan to the ChatGPT Plus plan. The difference is it's available even when the demand is high. So as of now, the demand is high, but we are still using the ChatGPT and hence it is taking time to respond to us. Okay, but you would have fairly got the idea of what ChatGPT is capable of doing so far within the industry. Let me say stop generating the content. Now I'm gonna say generate a blog for paneer tikka masala in HTML. Okay, so let us now wait for the same content as the blog to be generated by the ChatGPT, but this time what you see is the blog is potentially getting generated by the ChatGPT, and that too within the HTML format. It means you right away get a web page which you can simply save it in a file with the .html extension, and thereafter you can embed it in your blogging website. So here you can see how ChatGPT has taken up very fairly and generated one of the blogs, and that too in the HTML content, so that you can use it within your websites. Okay, till time the ChatGPT is generating this blog, I would like to put across the question. What do you think, guys? Where and all the ChatGPT can be used in some other industrial regions? What do you think that okay, the ChatGPT can be used to generate the content for this or for that? Let me know. I'll wait for your comments and we'll try one of the comments and see if ChatGPT works over your query or not. In the meanwhile, you post down your comments with the titles. I would suggest that you can take up some time and write this prompt, generate a blog for a title what you like within the HTML. Now let me move ahead and see another use case of ChatGPT within the industry. Consider you need to come up and create a PowerPoint presentation. So you need to definitely think on what slides I should be creating, how much content I should put in the slides, and you need to think of some scenarios, this, that, and everything. Let me show you how we can come up and instruct the ChatGPT and make the use of ChatGPT in order to come up and get our PowerPoint presentation design. Let me come up and submit a new prompt. Act like a professional speaker and expert in PowerPoint. And then I'm gonna say, create the outline for a PowerPoint presentation on healthy lifestyle. So I have given a topic to the ChatGPT that you need to act as a professional speaker and expert in PowerPoint, and you need to give me an outline for a presentation where the topic is healthy lifestyle. Let me also come up and give some more inputs to the ChatGPT in order to make my prompt or question more better. I would say include main headings for each slide, detailed bullet points for each slide, then ideas for photos for each slide, and an impactful introduction and closing slides. So that is what I got my entire prompt which I need to submit to the ChatGPT, so the ChatGPT can come up and actually give me the content over this. So let us hit enter and see what ChatGPT has to say for our PowerPoint presentation. As you can see, ChatGPT has responded very fairly. It says, I would be happy to help you create an outline for your PowerPoint presentation on healthy lifestyle. The very introduction slide would be the title of the presentation. It should have a presenter name and title. It should have an eye-catching image related to healthy lifestyle. Now, these are pretty much the solid tips which you can be using in order to work on your presentation. Now, slide 1 is why is a healthy lifestyle important, and ChatGPT has given you the bullet points where overview of the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. Then it included the bullet points what you need to actually mention: improve physical health, mental health, increase energy levels, so on and so forth. So from every angle till the closing slide, it has given us the fair idea along with what kind of photograph you should be putting up. Of course, you will not get a .ppt file which you will be able to download and use it right away. So these are the tips and tricks which you are kind of getting from the ChatGPT. Now next is your intelligence, that if you have to come up and have the content for maybe why is healthy lifestyle important. So I can come here and say, give me an overview of the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. So this way you can use the ChatGPT. So now ChatGPT is actually generating the content overview for the benefits of the healthy lifestyle. So improve physical health, mental well-being, so on and so forth. And these points can be used within your presentation under the topic overview of the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. So A thing, you tell the ChatGPT to give you some overview, and the B thing, where for every single overview you can come up and get the content generated further for your presentations. It means you have wonderful way to develop the presentations rather than you working hard on the presentation. Now let us quickly move ahead and see how you can come up and write an email to some person, maybe some company where you are facing some bad experience with a service. Let me come here and generate another prompt. Write an email to Mr. John for a bad experience with car servicing. All right, so that's how we want to write maybe an email for which you are disappointed. So my car servicing was not up to the mark and I have to write an email for my bad experience. I can even give some more pointers here for the bad experience, which can include that I have to wait for a longer duration or my car again broke down, whatever the pointers you want to give. So ChatGPT will automatically include those pointers. But here I'm going to put up a very flat question here. So where I want to say that the ChatGPT should write an email for my bad experience with the car servicing. Let me hit enter and you would see that the ChatGPT is processing your prompt and will wait for ChatGPT to come up with the response. So as you can see in the response, we got the very first thing coming as the subject. It says the subject for the email should be disappointed with car servicing. And then the email content says, Dear Mr. John, and you can see how professionally an email is being drafted. I'm writing to you today so as to express my deep disappointment with the car servicing I received at your garage last week. So on and so forth. You would get the entire content written or generated by the ChatGPT. It's not just the copy paste from somewhere over the web, rather, it's a generated content. Of course, there may be some plagiarism which can be found here and there, since the similar content on the web would lie a lot. You always need to come up and do a proofreading of what ChatGPT is generating and essentially should give a human touch so that you can rectify some sentences to make it look a bit more casual, because many times ChatGPT will give you really the formal sentences. Alright, so now you know that the ChatGPT in the industry has a great usage. You can use it for various different purposes. We'll be next moving ahead with the ChatGPT usage in the industry, where the important angle is the language translation. Now, ChatGPT can be used to translate the text from one language to another. This can be useful for the companies that operate in multiple countries and they need to communicate with the customers or the partners in some different languages. Now, regular translation tools, they have no way to account for these potential misinterpretations, whereas ChatGPT can provide the varying translation depending on the speaker's origin. So what the person is trying to say in German, what is the context for the translation, right? So you can right away get that with the ChatGPT, which you will not get in the translation tools. Okay, for the sake of fun, let us try to convert or to translate one of the text to English, and I'm going to choose a Bollywood song or maybe a Hindi audio profile which can be translated to a song in English. It may be funny for few, but let us just try that. Okay, let me come here and quickly write Hindi song lyrics. Alright, so here I am with a few of the song lyrics. Okay, let me come here and get one of the titles. Okay, let's say Shy, the first one itself. Okay, so I'm going to now come here and copy this first, you can say the paragraph, which is pretty much a Hindi song. So चलो फिर से मिलते हैं इकरार करने को, जो बातें अधूरी रह गई थी उसे इजहार करने को. Let's try to translate this kind of text using the ChatGPT. Okay, let's come here and say translate the below Hindi song to English, and let us now hit enter, shift enter, where I'm gonna paste this Hindi song. So you see, the context is pretty much a Hindi song which we are trying to tell ChatGPT to translate the song to English, right? So I'm not giving here any context, but we are just seeing how flatly the ChatGPT can translate this song. So let me hit enter and see. Alright, so here we are, and we get to see some real great translation. So let's meet again to make a promise to express what was left incomplete. Let's meet again. Whatever mistake was made by us, let us forget it and just love. So love for ChatGPT. Alright, so guys, as you can see, the translation in action. So we can use the ChatGPT for sentiment analysis as well. It means you can use ChatGPT to analyze the text and determine the sentiment behind it, whether it's a positive sentiment, negative, or neutral. So there may be a scenario that you have some textual paragraphs, you can give it to the ChatGPT, ChatGPT can process it, and it can be useful for the companies that want to understand how the customers feel about their products or services. For example, Let me come back here and get this review copied, for which we can come here and submit this review to the ChatGPT. Let me say, give me a sentiment behind the below review, and let us give this review over here by one of the reviews on the Google for a mall, and let us see how it works. Okay, it says the sentiment is positive. If you see the sentimental analysis, so it's a positive review, and it also gives a fair description that the reviewer seems to have had a very positive experience at this location. So they have praised it for the best places in the city towards the shopping, eating, and the entertainment. Now, if we just don't have one single review, if we have a lot of reviews, it can be programmatically processed by the ChatGPT and it can be used for the sentiment analysis. And now we'll be discussing the last usage of the ChatGPT in the industry. So when it comes to the ChatGPT usage in the industry, so we're gonna come up and move ahead and talk about personalization. So what is personalization? Now, ChatGPT can be used to personalize the content and recommendations for individual users. This can be useful for companies that want to offer some personalized experiences to their customer, such as online retailers, some streaming services, product reviews, descriptions in the e-commerce domain, and lot many things. So let us try to move ahead and see once again ChatGPT in action, where we're gonna talk about various different prompts. Now let me come here and submit another prompt. This is for an e-commerce platform who would like to come up and write a product description. You may have certain details, but writing a description can be complex. I'm going to come here and say, write a product description with below details. Okay, so I'm going to come here, first of all, mention the product. So the product is a black shirt. Then the material is 50% cotton and 50%, let's say, linen. And thereafter, some features of the product includes soft, comfortable, and breathable. All right. Now let us see how ChatGPT responds to this data and how it writes a description. So introducing our black shirt, which is made from a perfect blend of 50% cotton and 50% linen. You see what a wonderful description is coming from the ChatGPT based on the data you have provided. In case you would have provided the data to some human to generate this description, it would take some time. But ChatGPT has done it in seconds. That's the beauty how ChatGPT is taking the storm. Overall, ChatGPT can be used to automate and improve various aspects of business operations, making them more efficient and effective. So if you are a learner, you have definitely a chance to work with the ChatGPT and explore its capabilities. Let me show you how. Consider you are a developer or maybe a data scientist. So we'll come here and we'll now go to a website which is pretty much known as the Stack Overflow. So what we can search from the Stack Overflow. All right, so I'll go with the Stack Overflow first of all. And here I'm gonna search check internet connection in Android. All right, so you can see that there is a certain code snippet which has been given here and even by more people, right? Since we know already the topic, that the topic is checking the internet connection in an Android application, that whether your application can work or not based on the internet. So for this, we have certain code snippets, and what we can do is we can use these code snippets and see if it works. Let me copy this code snippet, right? And come back to the ChatGPT. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up and tell the ChatGPT to, can you please explain me what this code is doing? So let's say it casually, can you explain what the below code is doing? Now we are not telling ChatGPT whether this code is Java, Python, Perl, Ruby, JavaScript, but it's all up to ChatGPT to come up and see in what context it is and how it is. Let us see what ChatGPT will say to us. Okay, as you can see, it says that the code is a method which has a name is online. It takes the context object as a parameter and returns the boolean. So pretty much the textual explanation, right? Then it is also giving you the APIs, right, and the connectivity manager, which is used to check for the active network connection, and how is connected method can be used on the network object to check the device connectivity. Now that is pretty much amazing. So guys, if you are a learner, you are trying to establish your career in the field of software development, you can take the help of ChatGPT and you can get your codes explained right by the ChatGPT rather than waiting to put your questions to someone. All right. Now, many a times what happens is, as a data scientist, if I'm working, so I need to work with the data sets, and there are a lot of commands, a lot of code snippets which I can't remember, right? For example, if I have to do some research, I need some fake data. So how I'll be generating fake data? I can tell ChatGPT to come up and generate a fake data with 100 rows and 4 columns. And I'll give the columns, right? So let me show you how I can give the columns. I can give the columns something like this. So columns include like ID, name, then let's say grade and the subject. All right. So here is one of the input prompts which I'm trying to put across to the ChatGPT, where I'm trying to tell the ChatGPT that you need to come up and generate me a fake data so that I can do some research on that fake data. So here we are. Now let's wait for the ChatGPT to respond. So as you can see, ChatGPT has started writing a code which can generate a fake data for 100 rows and 4 columns. Okay, so let us just wait for this code to get generated. Now, as I said, since the ChatGPT is something which is in the free plan, so it's available when the demand is low, but you can pretty much get some hiccups here and there, but you should always be patient with the responses. So this happens generally at some peak hours. Okay, you can see that this fake data is now getting generated as a CSV format, which can be used by the data scientists in their research, or if you're trying to write certain machine learning models, you can very well consume this data set. And yes, you can have the data set created as per your requirement. Okay, so by the time this guy performs text generation, I'm just gonna say stop, since it's gonna take time, but I hope you got a fair idea on how we can work with the data set generations. Let me come here and give another prompt, and I'm gonna say I have a text classification data set. Okay, and I'll say write Python code. So write Python code for data cleaning. Now I have given up an input to the chat GPT that, okay, I do have some text classification data set. So consider that I do have a classification data set, but you need to give me some code through which I can clean up my data set. And you can see the very first code snippet in the Python is how you can load the data set. So using the pandas as library, I can read the CSV file, and thereafter it's converting the text to the lowercase. That's the first step for the data cleaning. Then it's removing all of the non-alphabetic characters and the numbers using a regular expression. Thereafter, it is removing the stop words and then removing the words which are less than size 3 and dropping for some rows with missing values and resetting some indexes. And then you have a neat and clean data set on which you can work with. That's the beauty of ChatGPT when it comes to the world of software engineering and the data science. Let me quickly come here and give up one more example prompt for the machine learning part. Let me tell the ChatGPT that you are a data scientist. Now, this first prompt is telling the ChatGPT that you need to act as a data scientist. Now, I will say, write Python code for me. I have a data set with columns. And now let me mention the columns. The column is, there is some vehicle model, there is some horsepower, and there is some speed. So these are the columns. All right. So please build a machine learning model that predicts speed. So you're trying to come here and gonna use one of the predictions for our data set, and this machine learning model is something which will be coded by the ChatGPT, but not you are coding. Let us hit enter and wait for the intelligence what ChatGPT will put across. You can see it is using the scikit library, and it is pretty much working with the linear regression to do the prediction. So we got the x-axis and the y-axis, that's like the speed to be predicted. It has splitted the data into the training data sets and the testing data sets, and finally it came up with the predictions. The beauty about the ChatGPT lies in the various different roles within the industry. So it's just not the content generation and creation. You can even come up and write the codes, generate. So you won't be able to get the entire application or the website coded by the ChatGPT. So you need to, at the end of the day, use your human brain to, do some Lego. So remember, you are getting the components generated, but you are not getting the whole product generated at the end of the day. Okay, so with this, we have come nearly towards the end of our discussion on the ChatGPT. But before we finish off, let us try to come here and submit couple of more prompts. Okay, one of my prompt which I want to submit in order to just make something a bit lighter on what we are discussing. Okay, let's say act as a stand-up comedian. And now I'm gonna say create a script on husband and wife. All right, so let's see what ChatGPT will come up and give us a script as a stand-up comedian. So you can see, you just need to come up and remember the content which has been generated by this ChatGPT in order to make people laugh. I just hope that you have understood the ChatGPT in the various domains and what can be the wide usage of this tool. Let me read this script for all of you. Hello everybody, how's everyone doing tonight? So I was talking to my friend the other day and he said to me, they say a man's home is his castle, but my wife is the queen and I'm just the jester. And I thought, Man, that is so true. So, guys, this is how we can see the content being generated by the chat GPT over certain comedy. You can choose the content, you can choose the topic, you can simply put in across this content and create certain reels, the YouTube shorts, and you can, of course, do a lot of things with the chat GPT. So, with the final prompt, which we'll be working on, is something with respect to your career. So, how we can use the chat GPT to come up and have a round of interview with us. So, whenever you are trying to go ahead and appear for an interview, you'd always like to prepare for the interview first, where the mock interviews are really important for your performance. So ChatGPT can be used as an interviewer. It can be also used as a lawyer. It can be used as a doctor, as a cook, as a chef, whatnot. So we're going to come up here and open up a live interview session with the ChatGPT. Of course, you all can try along with. Okay, I'm gonna submit a larger prompt. It's a pretty much trendy prompt on the internet. How you can use the ChatGPT to work with as an interviewer so that you can prepare well for your career. Let me show you how. I want you to act as an interviewer. Okay. The next thing is I will be the candidate and you will ask me the interview questions for the position of software engineer. Now what you need to do is you just need to change this position, maybe for the position of data scientist, for the position of a lawyer, for the position of a doctor, so on and so forth, right? Let me move ahead. I want you to only reply as an interviewer. So that's my next submission. Do not write all the conversation at once. Why I'm submitting this part to the chat GPT? Because there can be a case that it has given me a list of questions which can be which can be there in the interview. So that is how I'm telling the chat GPT not to write all the conversations at once. Okay, so I want you to only do the interview with me, ask me the questions and wait for my answers. So this is pretty much understandable what prompts I'm trying to submit, right? I don't want ChatGPT to come up and ask a question and do not wait for my answer. Okay, and also do not write explanations. Let us say I have given up a wrong answer, or maybe I'm giving an answer. So ChatGPT starts explaining me what question was, what was the answer, right? So it's gonna be an interview simulation. Okay, so ask me the questions one by one, like an interviewer does, and wait for my answers. Okay, and finally I'm gonna say my first sentence is hi. All right guys, so as you can see, it's a pretty big of a prompt which we are submitting. So my first sentence is hi, right, to the chat GPT as an interviewer. Okay, I think we need to do a refresh. So there is some session which would have been compromised. Okay, let us do a refresh and submit this prompt. Now as you can see, The chat GPT has started responding to me as an interview. Hello, thank you for your interest in the position of software engineer. Can you please start by telling me a little bit about yourself and your experience in software engineering? I am Ishant and I have a vast experience in the domain of Java full stack and data science. And let us now wait for this answer. Okay, now you can see ChatGPT has given me a second question. Great Ishant, can you please tell me about a specific project you worked on that you are particularly proud of? And what was your role in that project and what challenges did you face? I developed and designed a product known as Finlo, which is a parking application developed in Flutter as frontend, Java as backend. So that's what is my answer to the ChatGPT's next question. Let us just wait for what ChatGPT has to come up. So you see, ChatGPT is now asking me for what and all tools and technologies I have used in this project. So I worked with Flutter and Dart, then AWS Cloud Services. Let us hit enter and wait for this another answer. Now you can see ChatGPT has very intelligently moved me where it is saying that you can explain me the development process starting from the project planning to deployment and tell me some challenges which you have faced during each phase. Isn't it wonderful, guys, how you can simulate an interview? Of course, we can keep on going on and on with this ChatGPT for the mock interview, but I'm just gonna come here and say, let's stop this interview now. You can see ChatGPT has finished this interview. Let me say, can you give me the results for my interview? And you see how it's gonna respond. So this guy says, I'm not in a position to make an assessment over this performance, but this, that, etc., etc. He has given me some experience, what ChatGPT thinks with my interview, right? So your experience in developing sounds particularly impressive. In future interviews, you may want to consider providing more specific details, examples of problem solving, collaboration skills, this, that. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed the part of discussion with the ChatGPT and the various prompts which we have submitted for the day. So now we'll be proceeding ahead towards the closing part. Okay, so we'll have a quick quiz on the ChatGPT. So guys, who developed the ChatGPT? Can you put it in the comments? Who and all are behind the ChatGPT? What do you think? So is ChatGPT an example of natural language processing? Yes or no? All right. So which one do you think is not a relevant field for the ChatGPT? Content generation, language translation, sentiment analysis, developing the chatbots, or maybe all right, so these are some of the quick questions which you can try putting across to the comments. And yes, now over the final slide, the Q&A, guys. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them across. So questions to anyone can please put across in the comment section and we'll try to help you across. So guys, what's next and what do you wish to go ahead? So if you want to really learn the chat GPT, we have the course for you. Let us quickly look on to the key highlights for the course. You get a hands-on course content, you get the practice assessments, you even get the cheat sheets, the prompts which you can use in your day-to-day life, and at the end of the course you get a valuable completion certificate. And definitely you have a lifetime access to the course and the free courses on the website. We have an active customer support for all your technical and functional queries. Remember, the course is free for the first 5 participants, and in order to enroll, you need to follow the link given in the comments section, or you can simply call us on 9810 123081. So do not wait and jump into the course registration right away. The ChatGPT is something which is the future and it's a tool needed for your advancement in your career portfolios. Whether you are a software engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, or you are looking forward to generate the content for the social media, write the reviews, ChatGPT can do all of those things for you. With this, pretty much we have come up to the end of our session, and now let us have a quick discussion over the comments for the queries and the answers. So guys, you need to hurry up. The course is free for the first 5 participants. Do register and get this course content free. But even though once you are registered with this course, even if you pay for this course, it's right away value for the money. So anyone with any updates or any questions, any queries, can please put across the comments. And if we are all good to go, I would like you guys to post a smiley in the chat window so that we can proceed towards closing the session. And the link to register for the course or to purchase the course is in the comments section. You can get it from there. I hope you have gained quite insights on the ChatGPT capabilities, how you can use it in the wide array of domains. So I wish you good luck, and I have also posted the link in the comment section from where you can register to the course. So the first 5 participants will get the course for free. And remember, once you join the course, you would gain more insights with in depth on the ChatGPT. So thank you all for joining us and being with us, and looking forward towards such more interesting webinars along with you all. Thank you for being a part of our webinar.